Corruption? Scandal? Big business? Or reform? War hit Ukraine up for sale?
This is a war that should have never happened. It's a war the Russians tried repeatedly to settle on terms that were very, very beneficial to Ukraine and us. The major thing they wanted was for us to keep NATO out of the Ukraine.
Has Kyiv sold Ukraine to BlackRock? Big companies have their eyes set on Ukraine?
The big military contractors want to add new countries to NATO all the time. Why? Because then that country has to conform its military purchases to NATO weapon specifications, which means certain companies, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, General Dynamics, Boeing, and Lockheed, get a trapped market.
Nephew of 35th US President John F. Kennedy makes explosive claims. Is this US company trying to control Ukraine? US and corporates trying to cash in on a disaster?
March of 2022, we committed $113 billion. Just to give you an example, we could have built a home for almost every homeless person in this country. We then committed another $24 billion since then, 2 months ago, and now President Biden's asking for another $60 billion. But the big expenses are going to come after the war.
Ukraine is already opening up for big investment, and hand-rubbing has been happening over a potential business bonanza. War hit Ukraine might not look like a good financial investment with no end in sight. Kyiv engaged BlackRock and JP Morgan in 2023 to help set up a fund to raise public capital that could attract private investment for Ukraine's reconstruction. But has the Russia-Ukraine war created a massive profit opportunity for leading US companies? Has Kyiv fallen into the hands of BlackRock?
When we have to rebuild all the things that we destroyed. Mitch McConnell was asked, can we really afford to spend $113 billion to Ukraine? He said, don't worry. It's not really going to Ukraine.
It's going to American defense manufacturers.
So he just admitted it's a money laundering scheme. And who do you think owns every one of those companies? BlackRock.
In 2022, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and BlackRock CEO Larry Fink agreed to work together on investments aimed at rebuilding the war-torn country after Russia's invasion. As per experts, when Vladimir Putin signaled Ukraine invasion, Kyiv went into an economic isolation. However, collaboration of Zelensky's government with BlackRock began in September 2022. Seeing this as an opportunity amid the tragedy, 500 global businesses from 42 countries signed the Ukraine Business Compact to help realize its huge potential. Western governments and corporate leaders have made no secret of their enthusiasm to alter Ukraine's political economy. So the whole Ukraine goes for sale with massive profit opportunities being created by the war?
Yeah, of course it's not. So why do they call it a loan? Because if they call it a loan, they can impose loan conditions. And what are the loan conditions that we impose on? Number one, an extreme austerity program, so that if you're poor in Ukraine, you're going to be poor forever. Number two, most important, Ukraine has to put all of its government-owned assets up for sale to multinational corporations, including all of its agricultural land, the biggest single asset in Europe. In Ukraine, there's been 1,000 years of war fought over that land. It's the richest farmland in the world. It's the breadbasket of Europe. 500,000 kids almost, Ukrainian kids, have died to keep that land as part of Ukraine. They almost certainly didn't know about this loan condition.
Kennedy has been a frequent critic of America's involvement in supporting Ukraine from Russia's invasion, which he has repeatedly referred to as a proxy war. The agreement between BlackRock and Ukraine emerged days after Zelensky traveled to Washington for a meeting with President Biden. Ukraine's economic toll remains unclear after Russian President Vladimir Putin sent in his forces in February. Kennedy took direct aim at US foreign policy, calling the war in Ukraine a creation of a relentless mentality of foreign domination. As per many geopolitical and economic experts, this is a familiar story when it comes to crisis-riven nations that come to rely on the financial aid of Western governments and institutions with some unsavory strings attached.